Dr. Dan's Freedom Forum is on the air.
Guilty without consequences in America. This is Dr. Dan, and this is Freedom Forum Live. All the guilty do not get punished. Some get punished, and others don't. Y'all know that. That's the way it is, and the way it has always been. So who's on your list? I'll tell you mine. At least part of it. My personal list of liars and folks who need punishing starts with Jane Fonda and includes the Warren Commission, Hillary and Bill, Fauci, Barack, climate change and Russia collusion hoax perpetrators, and everyone on Epstein's list. And that's just the beginning. Americans, as a rule, believe some form of retribution is due an aggrieved party as a matter of fairness, and we expect the judicial system to provide a proper resolution. One of the most important duties of government, of course, is to create and supervise a justice system that determines guilt accurately and fairly and administers punishment appropriate for the crime. In essence, we're all looking for the perfect justice system, like in the Bible story of King Solomon's judgment in the disputed motherhood case. The truth is, I don't think fair and honest justice has ever been routinely available equally to every person as a part of human history. In fact, whenever government gets involved, justice usually gets sold to the highest bidder one way or another. That's the way government works. We all know that. The highest bidder, the squeaky wheel, they're the ones who get the attention and the favors. The wisdom of King Solomon is difficult, a very difficult standard for judges of today to emulate. They claim, of course, that society is very complex, crime may be severe, and that makes it difficult to render simple verdicts. Unfortunately, decisions are too often driven more by the personal, financial, and political agendas of judges rather than written law, common sense, or even human decency. If satisfactory justice is not provided, there's a risk of vigilante justice that in some instances can lead to long feuds and, of course, personal injuries. Avoidance of violence is a high priority for law enforcement and judges as well, because they have to maintain peace and promote harmony in a community. So when routine justice fails or is unavailable, what recourse is available? So let's look at a few important historical facts and some current realities. From my own review of history, crime and punishment favor the rich and politically connected. In ancient Greece and Rome, the wealthy and government leaders ran the show, and of course, they got preferential treatment. The Holy Roman Empire, same thing. Popes gave papal pardons, dispensations for sins to kings, queens, and wealthy supporters who donated gifts and treasures and whatever to the Holy Roman Empire. Now that tradition continued in medieval times because kings and queens, dukes and duchesses and all those guys, they owned everything. And of course, when you own everything, you make the law. So kings and queens would rule ruthlessly over their subjects, and their subjects had absolutely no recourse to do anything at all to the kings and queens. Not a good situation. The American Revolution banned granting titles of nobility, but nothing really changed in the dispensation of justice. Now, in the 1960s, a philosophical change occurred in America that flipped the American justice system in favor of criminals. Hippie shrinks and psychologists promoted the theory and concept that society is responsible for bad behavior and crime, not the criminals. Personal responsibility went out the window, and suddenly we, you and me, were all on the hook for the criminal behavior of others. That was a major change, obviously. Personal responsibility is kind of the basis of freedom. If you have freedom to choose what you do in life, you've got to be personally responsible for the outcomes. It's not up to me to be responsible for your failures. If you make bad choices, you're the one who's got to fix that. But here we are in the 1960s. Personal responsibility, thing of the past. Because whatever you do, society made you do it. And who is society? Well, I guess it's the people with the ability to pay for the mistakes of others. So let's go back to the list. Jane Fonda sat on a tank in Hanoi with a North Vietnamese army helmet on her head, while our brothers were being tortured in prison camps nearby. If that's not giving aid and comfort to the enemy, I don't know what is. Now, you know, giving aid and comfort to the enemy is the definition of being a traitor. So, as far as I'm concerned, Jane Fonda is guilty. Ever punished? Not at all. Lives the life of Riley, wealthy, enjoys everything. She got away with it. Hillary and Barack. Now, they did not allow a quick reaction force to come to the aid of the heroes of Benghazi. 4 of our brothers died, including our ambassador, who was reportedly gang raped in the streets of Benghazi. We don't know for sure, but there was a QRF available, engines running, locked and loaded soldiers on board could have come to the aid, but it interfered with the what Hillary and Barack thought we needed to know about what was going on in Libya. Their narrative did not include terrorists shooting at the ambassador and the embassy in Benghazi. So the QRF did not come, and 4 of our brothers died. Fauci and Big Pharma. We know that Fauci is responsible for the COVID virus that leaked from a Chinese lab in Wuhan. But to make things worse, as if that wasn't bad enough, I shouldn't say that. I mean, that was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. But he made up fake medical precautions that we were required to use or forced upon us. He prevented the use of valid treatments for COVID, like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. He forced the use of dangerous vaccines made by his friends in Big Pharma. And we are just starting to see all of the complications that have occurred from those vaccines, RNA vaccines with a spike protein. How could anything go wrong with that, huh? And he also guaranteed the collapse of the American economy. Millions died. Now, why is Fauci enjoying a wealthy, retired life? Is that justice? I don't think so. The Warren Commission made up a fake story about Kennedy's assassination for political reasons. Most everyone knows there were several shooters, one on the grassy knoll for sure, When the shots were fired, people ran up the grassy knoll expecting to catch the guy who shot our president. Lee Harvey Oswald, I don't even know whether he was involved. Some people say he was in the cafeteria at the time. And of course, then he was killed by Jack Ruby to silence him about the whole truth. That is a problem. Millions and millions of us mourned Jack Kennedy's assassination. We were alive then. It changed our lives. It was a moment. Most of us will never, ever forget where we were at that time. But we never really found out the truth, did we? We never found out the truth about who killed him and why killed him, who was responsible, was our government in any way involved. Plenty of rumors, and there's probably proof somewhere about what really happened. How about the medically dangerous food pyramid and FDA regulations designed to increase profits for big agriculture while making several generations of Americans grossly overweight with diabetes and cardiac disease so big pharma could profit? That food pyramid was in force and the paragon of what we should eat for decades. It's not the top of my food pyramid. Top of my food pyramid is cheeseburgers without the bun, because I don't eat carbs or as little as possible. But the bottom line is that we were misled, and now millions of us are sick with serious disease because of what we were told to eat by the FDA and big agriculture. The list goes on and on. Climate change, Waco, Ruby Ridge, Tuskegee syphilis study, the Tonkin Gulf, Agent Orange, and countless unexplainable, possibly suspicious deaths of persons like Martin Luther King, RFK, Malcolm X, and many, many others who have died in suspicious deaths, probably so they couldn't tell us the truth. That is why it is time for the American people to know the truth, no matter who will be embarrassed. You know, I support President Trump. I think he's doing a great job. But let me tell you something, President Trump, if you're listening. Stop the excuses and stop the delays. You have people in power that are good people that you put there. They need to be letting us know what the truth is. You need to release Epstein's list and tell us the truth about JFK's assassination. Not some list and some paperwork with a bunch of black lines through them, redacted list. It's about time we knew the truth. And that's just the start of what we the people want to know. The American people need to know the truth about the lies and treachery of the government. That is my opinion. What do you all think? I think resist tyranny and trust in freedom. This is Dr. Dan, and this is our Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Freedom Forum Live. Join us every week. Resist tyranny and trust in freedom.